Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. So if you're new here, my name is Julianne and I am a Canadian who has been living in Germany for over 2 years now. And although some things I've gotten used to, when I first moved here, there was a lot of culture shock that I experienced. And yeah, coming from southern Alberta, it's a big farm, big truck, big agriculture businesses, and then coming to like little old Germany, there was a lot of things I had to get used to. And not all of these are negative, you know, they're all just my opinions. So just understand that I am not saying one country is bad and the other is better or anything like that. So just a little bit of backstory. I am married to a German man. We met in England actually at a Bible school. I ended up spending 2 months with him in Germany before getting married. And even in those 2 months, I was getting a lot of culture shock before I even moved here. And then 2 years ago is when I actually moved permanently to Germany. And then it was just even more as I was navigating through everyday life, actually living here and not just being a tourist. So I have 10 things that really shocked me coming to Germany. Number one, and this is probably even more for me coming from southern Alberta, but in Germany there are small roads and there are even smaller cars. That's not to say that all cars in Germany are like teeny tiny, but the average car is very small, and even a big car is probably the average size in Canada. You know, when you see people driving those like big Mercedes SUVs, that size of vehicle is pretty average and not that big in Canada. In Canada, people drive these massive, huge trucks and stuff like that. So, you know, having like a Polo or a Volkswagen Golf isn't so common. But here, everybody drives little cars. And that's because the roads are a lot smaller. When you're driving through the village, the roads are pretty tight. There's not a lot of like room to drive. There's just not so much space. And even with people driving little cars, you always have to like give way to people, and it's just a pain to drive through villages sometimes if they're overcrowded. And so I imagine owning a larger vehicle would be even more of a pain in those situations. Also relating to driving and cars is getting a driver's license. This is something that is quite different from Canada. So when I got my driver's license, first off, I got my learners when I was 14, and for that you just go in and you write a little, it's a written exam. I think it cost maybe 100 Canadian dollars to write this exam. If you pass it, then you get your learner's license, and then with that you can drive with somebody who has their full license. So, you know, typically you would drive with your parents, and that's how you learn to drive. You know, you have no real formal driving education. You just kind of start with your parents and just drive on normal roads, normal streets with everybody else when you're 14. And then when you're 16, you can get your driver's license. And with that, you know, you don't have to drive with anybody else. There's a few limitations because you have a GDL. I can't remember what that actually stands for. I'll put it on the screen. But when you're 16, you get your license with a GDL. So there's like very minor restrictions. Like there's a 0 alcohol tolerance, but it's like you're not gonna drink and drive anyways. So it doesn't make that much of a difference, and people don't usually get their next level of license for a long time afterwards. But 16, guys, you can be 16 driving a big truck on the road all by yourself, and that's normal. And it's like a big deal in high school. When you're 16, you get your driver's license. And if you don't get your driver's license when you're 16, then you're kind of the odd one out. Now looking at Germany, how they do their driver's license. First off, it is very expensive. In total, to get your driver's license in Canada, it would maybe cost you 250 Canadian. In Germany, it's mandatory to go through a formal driver education thing, like a driving school, and depending, it can cost anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 euros. That's like, what is that? That's like 3 to 6,000 Canadian. That's expensive. And on top of that, you can't get your license until you're 18. You have to be 18 before you can drive by yourself. And that's kind of where you see some other differences with Canada and Germany, or generally just in North America also. It's not so busy on the roads. The roads are a lot bigger. When you have a younger, maybe more reckless driver, it's not going to affect it as much. Whereas in Germany, you have to be like a mature driver. You have to be very focused on the road. Like with the small roads, like you can't just like drive and not really focus on it. You have to be extremely focused, and you need the education because it is a lot more difficult driving in Germany. Even me, I got my Canadian driver's license like transferred to a German one, and I won't drive on the Autobahn by myself because it's freaky. Like, you have to be so focused. So that was one thing that really shocked me, was just the cost, the time, and also the intensity of driving here. The third thing that shocked me coming to Germany is how close everything is together and how connected everything is. When you're driving like through villages and stuff in Germany, you know, there's not so much space between them. Like, you'll just go from one village to another village to another village. Like, there's just always villages, you know, you can't really get away from them. And in Canada, you know, if you're in a town and you drive an hour and a half, we say you're just an hour and a half away from that town, because any other place is maybe another 2 hours away. Like, it takes a long time to drive anywhere in Canada because everything is very spread out because there's so much space. Whereas in Germany, it's just very connected. Another thing to go with that is, you know, between all of these villages, they are very connected because there are actual paths connecting all of them. If you go through the fields or through the forest, there's always paths everywhere. So this makes it very walking and biking friendly to go between villages. In Canada, the only thing that we have is the big highways and then like the county roads, which are just like gravel roads going between the fields. You can't really cycle on a gravel road. And then if by chance your village is a little further away from the next one, if you don't want to walk, there's transportation. There is public transportation everywhere. And I am yet to see a village that doesn't have at least a single bus stop. The fourth shock that I had moving to Germany was the Autobahn. And I think the Autobahn is so attractive to non-Germans because a lot of it is without a speed limit. So, you know, you could drive 200 kilometers an hour if you really wanted to. But I have a hot take. This is my hot take. I think the Autobahn is a little bit overrated. Unless you're somewhere very rural with not a whole lot of other traffic and you're in somewhere with a nice landscape, then I can see the appeal. But for probably 95% of the Autobahn, it's very crowded and you don't really notice that you're going so much faster. Like, probably on an average, we would drive maybe 120 kilometers in, even if we get up to 140 kilometers an hour, it doesn't seem that fast because everybody is driving that speed. And so, you know, the only time where it looks like you're going really fast is when you're passing all the LKVs or the like the big transport trucks, because they're generally driving slower. And another thing that I don't love about the Autobahn, but is kind of necessary, is that they have lots of barriers on the side, like great big walls. And I found out that that's because they want to reduce noise pollution, which is very important, but it doesn't make it so nice to drive on them. I think what's a lot nicer is driving on those itty bitty rural roads, because it's so beautiful, it's so pretty. You know, you can't drive so fast, but it's much nicer. The one thing though that I do love about the Autobahn is that it is perfect for people watching. And especially like car watching. If you like nice cars, then yeah, go for it. Drive on the Autobahn, because that's when you're gonna see some fancy like Porsches zooming past you going 200. The fifth thing that shocked me a bit coming to Germany is that you have to be very careful when you're looking at flats to rent. You know, if you're looking at an advertisement online, make sure you read the fine print to know what is included in the flat and what is not included in the flat. For example, in most flats, it's not normal to find a dishwasher. If you're coming from North America, just beware, closets are non-existing in Germany, so you will have to buy furniture to put all your stuff in. Thank you, eBay Kleinanzeiger. Also, make sure that you're looking at the cold and the warm prices. And the cold is like without anything. That's just the flat, without power, without heating or anything. And the warm price is typically with heating, but depending on the landlord, it can mean different things if it includes electricity, if it includes Wi-Fi or anything like that. And the big one, if you rent a flat, you have to be careful that you actually get one that has a kitchen in it, because Germans will take everything. If they're moving from one flat to another, they will literally take everything, including the light fixtures, the dishwasher, the laundry machine, and sometimes the whole kitchen, cabinets and all. Before we moved into this flat, when we were looking around, there were quite a few flats that I saw that I really liked, and they were within our price range. But after reading the description at the bottom, it says you will have to pay 10,000 euros to get a kitchen, because it just wasn't included. So, you know, just know that and be careful when you're looking. The sixth thing that really shocked me coming into Germany is just the whole school experience. This is something that I get very frustrated at, that I'm kind of jealous of. And it's because my high school experience in Canada was not very good. And I can't say that's for all high schools or just all schools in Canada. I know there's lots that are really, really good. I don't know, I guess my school just didn't have the funding to get enough teachers. I don't know what it was. But one thing that is different comparing Canada to Germany is like the availability and the opportunity of classes that you have. Whereas in Germany, there are so many classes and there's so many languages that you can learn. I'm from Canada. Canada is officially a bilingual country with English and French. And I never learned French in school. And I wish I could have. So, you know, just for context, here is the voice of my husband to tell you all of the classes he had in high school. So there you have it, folks. The seventh shock that I got moving to Germany was Duna, and only Duna. Maybe it's because Canada is very multicultural, we have a lot of variety, but like, you know, every time you want to go out and get somewhere to eat, it's always Duna. And I am just sick of it. I'm sorry, I am just sick of Duna, because it is what we get every single time. Like in our city that we're living in now, there are literally 15 places to get Duna. And then there's a few pizza places, maybe a few Greek restaurants, and that's it. That's all. So in most places in Germany, there isn't a huge variety for cafes, for restaurants, for like small to-go food stands like Duna. And really what I've noticed is that to find the variety, you have to be in a university city. So somewhere like Karlsruhe, Stuttgart, Freiburg, those kinds of places have a lot more variety because they're a very popular like student city. And I find that those places are also quite a bit more catered to younger people and young adults. Whereas especially in rural Germany, it's very traditional German and it's also more catered to older people. So I'm sorry, that's another hot take that I have. The 8th culture shock that I had coming to Germany is the intensity of the recycling system. Like, there's so many bins, there's so many like ways to sort out your recycling and your garbage and your compost. You have multiple different recycling bins, you have your glass that you have to take away, and you know, it's complicated, but it's also very effective, and it's a really good system because when it gets sorted more, then there's a better chance of it actually getting recycled. So that's something that is quite a bit different from Canada, but it's very good. And then also they have bottle depots. I guess they would be like a bottle depot, but they have them at the store. So when you go to a store and you buy some bottled sparkling water or some juice or pop or anything, you take it home, you drink it, you bring back the bottles directly to the store that you bought them from, and then you get money for bringing the bottles back. So I really like that because it's more of like a closed loop system. I know in Canada we would have these bottle depots where you would come, you would bring all your stuff, and then they would sort it and give you some money. I know those are becoming less common in Canada now, and so I really like the German system because you're taking it from the store and then you're giving it directly back to the store. The 9th thing that really shocked me coming to Germany is something that I don't like, and it's something that I'm kind of sad about. And it is that smoking for young people, especially teens and young adults, is very common. And yeah, I don't like smoking at all. Growing up in Canada, we were always told that smoking is very, very bad. And you know, I don't even know that many people who do smoke. Whereas in Germany, if you drive past a high school during one of their breaks, there will be like huge groups of people all outside smoking, and these are high school students. So I know that the government is trying to work on that, trying to get people not to get, you know, cigarettes and stuff. But my husband was saying that a few years ago, it was like a huge trend again to get into smoking. And so a lot of people got on this trend, started smoking, and now a lot of those people unfortunately are addicted to it now. So that's really too bad. And I know this isn't just in Germany. I know like France is really, really bad for smoking. So that really shocked me, like how many young people are actually smoking. I thought we were done with that as like a global community. No, it's still going in Germany, unfortunately. And finally, the 10th thing that shocked me coming to Germany was the lack of fast food. This is a good thing. I'm not mad at this, but it's different. I came from a small town in Canada, and in that small town, there were 1, 2, 3, there were like 4 fast food restaurants in a little town. And if you go into the cities, they're everywhere. Everywhere you look is just fast food. And so I'm very grateful that there's not all that fast food in Germany. It's very good. It's a lot healthier to not eat it, of course. But it was kind of a shock, actually, just to like look out and not see the McDonald's arches. It's kind of nice. So those are some things that really gave me culture shock coming to Germany. If you guys have moved into Germany from somewhere else, please let me know in the description what you guys found as a real shock, because I am very interested, because I'm pretty sure somebody coming from Canada probably has different culture shock than somebody coming from America even, or other English speaking countries. And especially if you're not coming from North America, into Germany, I'm pretty sure you're gonna have an even bigger difference in things that shocked you. So I'm very curious. Please leave that in the description so I can read through them. If you like this video, then be sure to give it a big thumbs up, and also be sure to subscribe to my channel for more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!